I sure hope Bear Bear and his pals are having better luck than
Man. Comestible.
I'm beginning to feel like Keenan winning the movie. Herbie's giving me nightmares.
Fine enough to give you flavor that never fades. If you'd like to experience
As the result of all that brewing experience, all you gotta do is give a couple of frosty cold shakers a try.
I'm just going to have to find Herbie later because Disneyland's newest attraction of various things is about to start.
You can
And
buy
I
a
don't want to miss
handy 8-digit
that.
full-featured pocket calculator, including case and disposable batteries. This same calculator drove many bargain hunters on May 1st when it sold for $59.95. And now it's reduced to just $34.95. You can also buy a dual-powered calculator with memory, including case and adapter, rechargeable. It's dual-powered to run on regular household current or disposable batteries. It sold for $109.95. It's now $59.95. Come see them both at Sears and charge them. At Sears, we've already charged.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
I am proud to officially open to the general public Disneyland's 54th major attraction, America Sings. Here goes.
O senhor pense, o senhor ache, o senhor põe um enredo. A vida é cheia de passagens emendadas. contar seguido, alinhavado, só mesmo sendo as coisas de rasa importância. O real não está nem na saída nem na chegada. Ele dispõe pra gente no meio da travessia. A gente quer passar um rianado e passa. Mas vai dar na outra banda, é um ponto muito mais embaixo. Bem diverso que primeiro se pensou. Viver não é muito perigoso? Hoje em dia não me queixo de nenhuma coisa. Não tiro sombras de buracos. Mire e veja. O mais importante e bonito do mundo é isto, que as pessoas não estão sempre iguais, ainda não foram terminadas, mas que elas vão sempre mudando, afinam ou desafinam. Verdade maior. É o que a vida me ensinou. Isso me alegra o coração um montão. Mestre não é quem sempre ensina, mas quem de repente aprende. Queria entender do medo e da coragem, e de gana que empurra a gente para fazer a gente fazer tantos atos. Como é que se pode gostar de verdadeiro no falso? Amizade com ilusão de desilusão. Vida muito esponjosa. Eu passava fácil, mas tinha sonhos que me afadigavam. Dos que a gente acorda devagar. Terríveis espíritos me protegem, IP, com gosto. Como é que são de efeito, ajudo com meu pensar acreditar, mas nem sempre posso. Deus vem vindo, ninguém não vê. Ele faz na lei do mansinho, assim é um milagre. E Deus ataca bonito, se divertindo, se economiza. Gosto muito de moral, raciocinar, exortar os outros para o bom caminho, aconselhar muito. Eu, em toda a minha vida, pensei por mim. Forro, sou nascido diferente. Eu sou, é eu mesmo. Diverjo de todo mundo. Ó, eu quase que nada sei, mas desconfio de muita coisa. Deus é paciência. O contrário é o diabo. O que é de paz cresce por si. Não narrei à toa, só a apontação principal ao que crer posso. Não desperdiço palavras. Aqui a história se acabou. Aqui a história acabada. Aqui a história acaba. que muito lhe agradeço é a sua fineza de atenção.
I very rarely sell art that's got a lot of red in it. Of course, you never sell art with red in it to a hospital.
I think one of the lively things to do now is to accept the situation that we find ourselves in. I don't mean to do it complacently, but if possible, with enjoyment.
Why is it that all kinds of interesting art by all kinds of interesting people are neglected by the art world when so many dull things have such a large visible role in the art world?
They don't know how to affect, or don't care, don't see the necessity for affecting transformation. Beyond what they do, there isn't a wider discourse they can generate, because they don't point at something else. They only point at they admire the problem.
I never sell art with any stars, regardless. Stars, usually. Well, because then, you know, certainly not with six-pointed stars. And I never sell art with snakes, a lot of things like with snakes because of phobias. It's very hard to sell bird art, except for these Audubons and that type of art. But a lot of modern artists put in birds, but I had one company reject them because of people that would come in that might have bird phobias. They don't want the art to cause that much trouble. They want to have art in there to enhance their space and kind of stimulate a little creativity and make artists think. Men like texture. I think that they can relate better to art that has texture in it.
Do men like sculpture better than flat?
Well, they like the sculptural form, they like the strong form in that. That tends to appeal more to men than it does to women. And the business is still made up of about 90% men. And even when the women buy, they buy with the idea of what the men will like.
The gallery system dictates the content of the art magazines, not through whether they take ads or place ads specifically, but more by virtue of the fact that the galleries that can take the ads have the money to do the PR, to be taking editors out to lunch, to be putting on the image of being large and impressive, and to be paying critics under the table, which is a very common practice I discovered.
The idea of entertainment, and in fact the requirement for entertainment, made more necessary now than ever before by the fact that people demand leisure time and can afford leisure time activities, has a great impact on art and how art is perceived. People, that's a problem with the critical role right now. People in general do not understand that criticism is an intellectual, a philosophical discourse pursuant to the philosophical discourse of art itself. They see it only as a function of entertainment commentary, and that the art critic in a newspaper is supposed to function the same way a movie critic is, or a restaurant critic that is pointing at a show and saying yep or nope, 3 stars or a half star.
I don't think it's worth turning anything off because that's what silence is.
There is still room for some sort of ideal, some sort of idealism, some sort of aspiration in art that is of art and yet pertains to larger social and personal issues. When America gets interested in personal issues, it becomes the me decade.
Offices are beginning to paint their walls in colors. I have a company that's just doing a corridor that's going down to their cafeteria that's been painted kind of a reddish raspberry. So they were very happy. This is a food subject, so they're on their way to the cafeteria, and the black and white works very well on the raspberry walls, and I think it's going to be quite beautiful.
The philosopher Wittgenstein said that the word beauty has no meaning, that all it signifies is that what you say is beautiful clicks for you. He said the better thing to do would be to have a clicker in your pocket, and when you thought something was ugly, you would take this clicker out and click it, transform it into the beautiful.
It's hard for us to understand the underlying abstract, totally conceptualized meaning of a work, or its meaning generated by the artist, or its meaning as received by us. Europeans have this understanding, this idea understanding. We have a thing understanding.
And the longer you look, or the longer you use your faculties with regard to what you thought was ugly, the sooner it will become something that you could change your mind about and decide that it was beautiful. You could open your mind. In other words, what Ives, the composer, said that we need a music that will stretch the ears. We need, in fact, to, in all aspects of our life, I think, to open ourselves to experiences which we have not accepted and find ways to accept them. And right as a result of that book, which I found so illuminating in the sense of Marshall McLuhan, in other words, instead of being criticism, it was like a detective story that found out what the ideas in the 20th century were and how they developed and moved. And in her opinion, in this book at least, she gives the feeling that it moves to the work of Smithson. So I'm reading a book about Smithson, and I'm reading that collection of his writings. Have you read those?
Some of them, yeah, I haven't.
But what's marvelous about it is that he opened his eyes particularly to things that were ugly. And toward the end of his life, he was trying to make a park out of some industrial mess that had been made by industry.
It's very much a reality-oriented attitude.
Yes.
It's not fantasy. It's reality.
No.
Being in touch with reality.
And when you look squarely at something, no matter what it is, if your first reaction is to say that it's ugly, the next one should be to ask yourself, why do you say it's ugly? And very often asking yourself that question seriously will make the ugliness disappear.
How do you think Duchamp figures in this?
Well, he figures very beautifully because he didn't want to feel that something was either beautiful or ugly. He wanted to be emotionally static in relation to his experience, in equilibrium. And Smithson is not quite like that. And I must say I prefer the attitude of Duchamp. However, I'm unfamiliar with the attitude of Smithson, and I intend to learn it.
He was a very polyvalent artist.
Mm-hmm.
He was in many directions at the same time, and I think that he was not very well received by critics and society exactly because he was not a monovalent artist.
Right.
And I think that's unhappy, the idea how the cultural environment expects from an artist to be a person only with a single idea.
With one idea.
Being an artist in America is never quite placed into society. So,
and another thing, I think that sometimes they put the buying of art in the same category as furniture. I've seen one interior designer who was doing a very important executive's office, left the photographs here of the furniture that's being bought and the prices. And the chair, for instance, was $3,000, and the desk was some astronomical amount of money. And the art on the wall was less than the chair.
in a certain respect, there's a place for the artist, but more so than there is a place for art, the idea of art, but there's only a place for certain artists, that is the ones who are success stories. However those success stories come about. There's either the place for, and then the other artists for whom there's actually a place are the artists who are doing decorative things that you cover holes in the wall with.
Okay, but being good has nothing to do with it. When you want to get stuff into a museum, the first thing you need is a wealthy collector. Museums don't want stuff from poor artists.
Corporations aren't that different from the private collectors.
Through his interest in my work, I've been invited to Hungary to the Bartók Festival there, which is in the country, and they're going to give 30 hours of rehearsal to my 30 pieces for 5 orchestras, and then the Hungarian recording company, Hungaratune, is going to record it. And I think it's so amazing. This is a piece that hasn't been played in the United States. I wrote it for a festival in France, in Metz, and it was played in Venice, and now it'll be played in Hungary and recorded.
Why is not being
played? The orchestras in the United States don't get involved much in my work. I think they're afraid of the that it's that it wouldn't please the subscribers.
They don't buy any figurative work. And I mean, nudes they don't even begin to. I had one client. Why did you buy nudes? Corporations, not only do they not buy nudes, I mean they simply do not buy nudes, but when I did a job for a corporation's cafeterias, each month this particular cafeteria would change their dinner menu, and they'd do a month of Western food, and they'd show pictures from out West, posters. And one month the theme was Greek food, and so I got them posters on Greece. Usually I got travel posters or something that showed a little bit of the countryside, and then they'd serve 1 or 2 Greek meals along with the regular meals each month. So when I sent out the posters for the Greek month, I sent out one of the Venus de Milo and the other one of the Winged Victory, you know, in the Louvre at the top of the stairs. They were already poster man. I put money into it, and they didn't want to hang it, and they didn't even want to pay me because they were nudes. And this became a big issue, and I finally convinced them that it was okay to hang these nudes because they were going, you know, they were in museums, they were important pieces, and eventually they decided that they could hang this nude Venus de Milo in their lunchroom. But it made me very nervous because I was afraid I was going to have to pay for all this framing and mounting of these 2 pieces.
The one general thing is that the 1960s saw the first expression on the part of the American public of large of general interest in visual art, in the arts generally. That for the first time, arts and culture and the and aesthetic response could be conceived of by anybody as part and parcel of life. It's not integrated. Appreciation of artistic effort is not a part and parcel of daily life here the way it is in Europe or in quasi-European societies such as the Eastern South American countries. But it's growing, and that started in the 60s. That resulted, in fact, from the first education in studio art and art history, art appreciation, that began with the GI, the returned soldiers being educated in the GI Bill.
The only thing that I think is unfortunate is that there are too few museum directors, too few museum curators who are unwilling to stop and say what is germane is how good is the work. It should not be the case where any wealthy donor can place anything using the right subtle pressure, and no artist can place anything. And that's the situation now.
But this, I don't think that criticism, you know, should be looked at like to bring the discourse to discussion.
Yes, exactly. Rather than to end the discussion. And so many critics, fewer than used to be, but so many critics are arrogant enough to think that their job is to not simply to introduce the discussion, but to end it. This is the word on. Exactly. Even when they're acting as reporters.
I also discovered how many critics there were in the United States. There are approximately minimum of 2,600 art critics. And that idea drove everybody up the wall. People wrote attacks against this figure in magazines and newspapers, in fact. I've got names and addresses for most of them. I'm not saying they're great critics, I'm saying they're critics. They write about art. As far as the boom of painting, I don't know. I mean, I think so much of this is so silly. It was silly to say painting is dead. It's silly to say painting is the only thing. But America is a nation that loves booms. Silly reporters at newspapers and magazines need something to write about, so they write about art. Every year you'll see an article in every damn magazine in America, some article or another about investing in art. They want simple answers. They want a trend to latch onto. They don't want to think their way through it before they write. Part of it's the pressure of the deadline. Part of it's the fact that half of these people don't know what they're talking about and don't want to know what they're talking about.
I think first I was more interested in making a sound myself than in listening. But as time went on, I did a great deal of listening. I guess my life is getting mixed up. Instead of concentrating on one thing, I'm accumulating more and more interests.
All the ideas you have and all the feelings you have and all the perceptions you have, all the sense of the past you have, all the sense of the present you have, all the sense of the future you can have should be in your work.
It depends upon the economy. When the economy goes down, they still buy art, they just buy cheaper art. When it got really bad, they bought posters.
Marcel didn't sell
No.
sold very little.
No, Marcel Duchamp sold very, very little. Even through the late 60s, you could buy Duchamp for only a few $100s for some pieces. He was really, except for his early paintings, he was not thought well of, certainly not in the American art world, for many years. And finally, in the late 50s, Jasper Johns, John Cage, and some members of the avant-garde became quite interested in his work. He developed a new underground reputation.
The star system generally is in my mind, highly suspect. Marcel Duchamp was a broadly influential artist only towards the end of his life.
He had an astonishing effect on people. You know, at that time, we all had the impression that he was no longer doing any work, whereas he was actually making the Étant donné, which he worked on almost up to his death.
And what do you think that make a work resist to time? Is the quantity?
No. The quantity helps, but look at Vermeer. There are only about 17 works of Vermeer maybe no, twice that, I think 30-something. 30-odd works of Vermeer that exist, and he's still considered one of the greatest artists in history.
And actually, that's, I mean, you know, a lot of corporations, they buy, you know, a lot of stupid stuff that looks good, has a good look, but it can be completely phony. And this is that same artist again, because I thought they might like her. They didn't for this particular job. So she's not going. When I go back again on Monday, I won't have this with me. And I won't have this.
And so they're really trying to empty out some of the old things. All museums, the storage is way too crowded.
How you locate, well, how you localize New York in the American cultural map, and how you see the other places?
Well, New York is the crossroads for American and probably world art, but the crossroads in the sense, first and foremost, of the marketplace. All the important ideas of current art do not originate here, by and large. They try to come here, and more, even though the marketplace here is expanding, it is not expanding, it can't expand at the same rate that the discourse in art itself has been expanding, especially in this country, but in fact all over the world. As a result, more and more art that is being done elsewhere, more and more artistic thinking, simply can't get into New York. And thus people outside New York are having to circumvent New York in order to be able to communicate, in order to be able to establish careers for themselves, in order to be able simply to sell their work, to show their work. So that New York, you might say, has reached critical mass.
What we have to do, or what I try to do, is to live here as though things had changed.
See this again?
To live as much as possible as though things had changed.